Hey up, Sofa Squad, and welcome to another edition of On the Sofa. And as Greg rightly says, it's our 75th Diamond Jubilee. This is our 75th show. And so welcome, Greg, and welcome Stall as well. I see that Stall is in the chat. And and if you want to support the stream, you can. And you can become a patron, and your name will be added to the two names that are scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. Or you can buy me a coffee, or you can buy my book, Surviving 2020, and all the details are in the description. That said, I guess I'm going to crack on. I seem to be all by myself this evening. So yeah, it's just me and of course Greg and Stall in the chat. But it's just me in the studio. So Rishi Sunak made it to 200 days, and how well do you think his first 100 days have gone? Let me know in the comments. But our first story tonight that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to talk about, is Nadim Zahawi sacked as Tory chairman over tax affairs row. This is from Sky News. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said it was clear that there has been a serious breach of the Ministerial Code, but Mr. Zahawi made no apology for his actions and attacked the conduct of the media. So basically, it's everybody's fault but his. But I mean, Sunak took his time sacking this guy, Nadim Zahawi. But I think I know why. Because if if I can get the words out, as I've said before on this show, he is he's hanging on for dear life, basically, and he needs the support of his backbenchers. He needs to keep his backbenchers happy, and so that's why he dithered about. But he finally had to get rid of him, though. There he is. There's Nadim. Let's see if we can just play this footage. Oh.
Barclays is sparking opportunities by helping people develop.
Maybe not. I should have known there'd be an advert. But anyway, the article says this: Nadim Zahawi has been sacked as Tory party chairman after an ethics inquiry into the handling of his tax affairs found a serious breach of the Ministerial Code. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak had resisted earlier calls from opposition parties to fire Mr. Zahawi following reports that he had paid a penalty as part of an estimated £4.8 million settlement dispute with the HMRC. Let's be clear about this. This was a settlement. So we don't know the full amount of how much Nadim Zahawi owed the HMRC. So I've heard some commentators estimate that it was close to 11 million that he actually owed. This is just the settlements, the 4.8 million. But he wasn't sacked for that. He wasn't sacked for tax, for failing to pay his taxes. He and trying to move them off, move all his money offshore, or anything, or anything like that. He was sacked for breaking Ministerial Code. But he's still an MP. He still takes his MP salary, and as far as I know, he's still got the Tory whip. But I think he's been sacked from his post as Minister without portfolio, and I think he's no longer the party chairman. They're looking for a new party chairman to take his place. So, in a letter written to the Prime Minister following the conclusion of his investigation, Sir Laurie said Mr. Zahawi had shown insufficient regard for the general principles of the Ministerial Code and had not fulfilled the requirements of being an honest, open, and exemplary leader. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he's been sacked as Tory chairman, it says here. And I think there needs to be a thorough investigation into this, because I think we've just hit the tip of the iceberg, with this tax fraud that's going on. And there needs to be a thorough, independent investigation. But I'm not holding my breath. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. This is interesting. This is an exclusive from the Daily Mirror. Tories in crisis as party's chief executive and treasurer dragged into tax dodging row. This is why I think there should be an investigation. How many MPs are dodging tax? How many of them are doing this? Are committing? How many of them are committing tax fraud? There needs to be an investigation into this. The article goes on. Tory Treasurer Graham Edwards was found to have used a tax avoidance scheme, while the party's chief executive, Stephen Massey, still works for a firm that helps the rich slash their tax bills. Rishi Sunak faces a fresh crisis as two Tory bosses are dragged into a tax-dodging row. The Mirror can reveal Graham Edwards, who has been brought in by the PM to run the party's finances, was found to have used a tax avoidance scheme. So, begs the question: how far does this go? And what about the Prime Minister's own financial records? They need to be investigated, because I don't think he's coming. He's being fully straight. About his tax records and financial dealings. That needs to be investigated. it's just one. There's just one thing after the other with the Tories. Yeah, there's and it needs to be investigated. They all need to be investigated, and they can't go on in power like this. Or at least they shouldn't do anyway. And this brings me on to the next story. This is from Byline Supplement. The Conservative Party is institutionally corrupt, says voters. A new poll conducted in the wake of revelations about Nadim Zahawi and Boris Johnson suggests that trust in the government is reaching new lows. There's Nadim again. A large majority of British voters believe the Conservative Party is institutionally corrupt, with senior members of the government more interested in personal gain than helping the country, according to an exclusive new poll commissioned by the Byline Supplement. The poll, which was conducted by pollsters Omnisys, follows revelations about the personal tax affairs of the Conservative Party of the Conservative Party chairman Nadim Zahawi. It also follows news of an undeclared £800,000 loan taken out by the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson with the help of current chair of the BBC. According to the poll, 65% of voters now agree with the statement that Rishi Sunak's party is institutionally corrupt, with just 18% disagreeing. This compares to just 31% who say the same of the Labour Party. And we have Purple with us. Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. I just finished my therapy session.
Nice.
Okay, I want to know why there are people in the side chat, and I was the first one to hit the like button. Shame, you slackers.
Interesting. Yeah, but there's only one, according to StreamYard, there's only one person watching at the moment, which is a bit sad, but never mind.
Okay, well, I saw comments there by Greg and Stool, so I thought they were here.
I think Greg is watching. He's always watching, and Stool, I think he was watching at the beginning, but he may have gone. We may have lost him.
Greg is always watching. He sees every stream. He's like Santa Claus that way, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Stool is still here.
Oh, he is still watching.
Okay, maybe StreamYard just doesn't count any better than YouTube.
Maybe. I guess so.
I had that happen to me one night. I was in the side chat and having a conversation with two other people in the side chat and YouTube said there was only one person watching the stream.
Oh. Okay. Interesting. When I started off by saying that Rishi Sunak has just celebrated his first 100 days as Prime Minister. How do you think he's been doing?
Oh, honestly, I've been so overwhelmed by stuff here. I haven't been paying attention to what's happening on your side of the pond.
But I think I personally think he's been doing, but the thing is, he couldn't have done much worse than trust. Let's face it. The bar is pretty low.
Yeah, well, you should have stuck with the head of lettuce, but
yeah. But he's been a bit bland. he hasn't made any major gaffes, but he hasn't done that that much really. He's kind of stayed under the radar. I mean, he's had to make a few embarrassing U-turns. He asked a homeless man if he was in business. He dithered over sacking Nadim Zahawi over this tax tax avoidance issue, and eventually sacked him for breaking Ministerial Code. But apart from that, I think he's been playing it safe. He's been playing it safe, and so at least he can say that he's lasted longer than Liz Truss. So that's something, I guess.
Yeah, well, I can understand him, at least publicly, trying to be very cautious, just considering how many people have gone down there recently, that not attracting attention yourself sounds like it's probably a good strategy.
Yeah, yeah. Greg is asking, are his handlers telling him to lay low? You're probably right, Greg. There could be something of his spin doctors could well be advising him to to lay low, keep a low profile, don't rock the boat too, because the thing is, he's got to keep his backbenchers happy, and that's the problem with anyone who becomes the leader of the Conservative Party at the moment.
Yeah,
he's got to keep his the MPs who sit known as backbenchers, literally because they sit on the back benches in the House of Commons, but also because they're in the background, influencing things.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of party politics, that they have to be worried about the people who put them in that position and who they still owe favors to and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do or say something that's going to upset them, then they'll get rid of you. They are the Tory backbenchers are brutal when they want to get rid of someone, when they want to get rid of a leader that they don't like. They talk about backstabbers. Or they won't actually. They don't stab you in the back. They'll stab you in the front. They're quite brutal. They're quite vicious. And we've got Brian Stevens in the chat as well. So hello to Brian. Welcome. Let's crack on with the next news story. Who shall I do next? Oh yeah, this will make you laugh. Low tax Tories reignite Liz Truss WhatsApp group. This is following on from the story that apparently Liz Truss is plotting a comeback.
I saw something about that.
Yeah.
That she was on social media and, apparently trying to build up steam for a new campaign.
She wants to be Prime Minister again. And there's a group of Tory MPs who want, who are campaigning for tax to be reduced, who are plotting to get her back into number 10, because that worked so well last time. She's the shortest serving prime minister.
I was going to say, kind of lacked staying power.
Yeah. I don't think she's the shortest serving prime minister ever, but certainly this side of World War II.
You
Pro-
actually had
pro-
some that went out faster?
I don't know. I think so. I think one person did, but I don't know who that was. But and there's also because there's a plot to bring Liz Truss back. Apparently there's a plot to bring back Boris Johnson, and so despite Rishi promising to unite the party is more divided than ever. It's
Well, I thought everybody was celebrating. I saw the announcement that they got Brexit done.
yes, yeah, they were celebrating 3 years since we left the EU. Yeah, saying well,
Yeah,
saying
how's that worked out for all of you?
yeah, it's not done. Brexit is not done. Brexit is fucking far from done. There's still the Northern Ireland Protocol that needs to be sorted out. You know, there's fruit and veg rotting in the fields.
Mm-hmm.
Pigs have to be, slaughtered, without being, processed or sent to supermarkets. So all that pork is going to waste.
Yeah.
But Jacob Rees-Mogg found a Brexit benefit. Apparently, since we left the EU, we no longer have to pay insurance on our vacuum cleaners. So our vacuum cleaners are slightly cheaper now that
Wait,
we've
you
left.
had to pay insurance on a vacuum cleaner?
Apparently so, yeah.
Is this kind of like the license for the TV? I don't understand.
No, I didn't even know it was a thing.
That's what I mean. I don't understand. What is the insurance on your vacuum cleaner? Because it's not like you can damage something outside of your own home.
No, but Brian is saying, I know as much about Europe's actual political as I do about how long it takes a random frog to hop from New York to Brazil.
Now, but see, the difference is I could look up on Google what is the average hopping speed of a frog, and I could calculate that. I have no hope of understanding the politics over there.
Well, I barely understand the politics in the States. So
yeah, sometimes I wish I didn't.
But I think the most I know is that the Republican Party is kind of the conservative party. They're kind of they're the conservative party, right? The
Republicans are the very conservative ones now.
Yeah, and the Democrats are kind of like the Labour Party.
Well, I've said that since we only have two parties, our choices are right or extreme right.
Yes, I think that sums it up nicely. Yeah, and I think it's going that way here in the UK. People think that the Labour Party is left wing, but they're not really. They're centrists.
Yeah. Well, I understand that most of the world, Bernie Sanders would be a centrist.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even give him the nomination here because they figured he was too far left to ever win.
Yeah, they said a similar thing about Jeremy Corbyn as well. And they and as well as accusing Jeremy Corbyn of being anti-Semitic, I believe they accused Bernie of being anti-Semitic as well. And I think,
they've gotten to throwing that around so loosely that they have accused, several Jewish representatives of being anti-Semitic. So,
Mm.
again, it's like the Republicans here, they use buzzwords and they obviously don't even understand the meaning of the words.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie.
Stephanie's saying, store solution is cake. You've made me hungry for cake now. I want cake. Send me cake in a Jiffy bag. Send me cake.
I would, except considering the speed of the post, I don't think you'd care for the condition it got in when you got it there.
Probably not. Brian says the worst part is Bernie would have won by a landslide.
Oh yeah, Bernie had a grassroots support that has not been seen in this country for 50 years.
Yeah, same with Jeremy Corbyn. Wherever he went, he attracted thousands of people.
Yep.
I remember when he came here to Leeds. Yeah, there the place where he was speaking was packed, and there were crowds of people outside because they couldn't get in. So after he spoke in this building, he came to speak to the crowds outside as well. And everywhere he went, it was a similar story. He attracted crowds and crowds of people.
Yeah. Well, Bernie would never get the nomination from the Democrats because they are worried that on some critical piece of legislation, he would do the right thing instead of towing the party line.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But unfortunately, certainly here in the UK, I think as much as we want to blame the right-wing media, the Tories and whoever for and certain Labour MPs for sabotaging Jeremy Corbyn's chances, I think Jeremy Corbyn himself must shoulder some of the blame because he campaigned in 2019. He campaigned as if it was 2017. He campaigned on domestic issues when it should have been all about Brexit. 2019 was all about Brexit. Boris Johnson and his team understood this, but I don't think Jeremy Corbyn did. And
he wasn't really up to what the public focus was at the time.
No, that's it. All Jeremy, in my opinion, all Jeremy Corbyn had to do in 2019 was say, yeah, Boris Johnson is promising to get Brexit done, but he's going to make a pig's ear out of it. We'll get Brexit done, but we'll make it work. We'll get it done right. We'll get it done in such a way to make it fair for the people. And he probably would have won, but no, he dithered over Brexit. No one really knew whether he was for Brexit or against Brexit, and so unfortunately, I think as much as there could have been some sabotage going on. That he was, the whole press were against him, all the rest. But I think anyway, we're going off topic. Anyway, hello, Stephanie. Thank you for joining.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
I think the left has a terrible problem, or the left, such as it is, has a terrible problem with being a circular firing squad.
Yeah.
We just argue with each other so much, and meanwhile the people on the right are basically sitting there, oh, look over there, there are black people, oh, look over there. Well, they operate out of the politics of fear.
Yes, that's one thing the Conservatives do very well on both sides of the pond.
Well-
it's hard hard. You know, the only politician in recent memory that operated from the politics of hope was Obama. I mean, that was the focus of his first campaign.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out ways of doing better in that regard.
Yeah.
Actually, Biden sort of operated out of that too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like the Republicans tried to invalidate the election, and they really didn't lose any support for that. But
they
Al
built
Franklin made a kind of tasteless joke, and we booted him out of office.
Really?
Yeah, so actually he resigned because just the publicity it was getting was looking bad.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's what I mean. It's kind of like, yeah, the left will get rid of people pretty quick if they're doing anything that seems out of line at all. And the right, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter how many felonies they committed. We're just not going to prosecute anyone and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Stall is saying cake is always the answer.
I would agree.
And Brian is saying, while Biden hasn't done what I would consider a great job, at least it's been a respectable one.
He's actually far more accomplished than people are willing to give him credit for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't done a lot of big flashy presentations, but yeah, he has actually pushed some good things through.
Yeah. And at least he's presidential. And he's not a laughing stock.
Yeah, he's not embarrassing us in front of other countries.
He's respected by other world leaders.
Yep.
And I think that's important as well.
Well, it is, especially if we're trying to deal with trade negotiations or like, the whole mess with the war in the Ukraine.
And that is actually one thing I will hand to Rishi Sunak. I may not agree with his politics, but at least he is respected by other world leaders. Whereas Liz Truss and Boris Johnson before him were a laughing stock. But he has done well in his first 100 days in building bridges that they burnt down. And credit where it's due. But in every other regard, he's done appallingly bad, in my opinion, anyway. So anyway, moving on. Dominic Raab, third senior civil servant, gives evidence to bullying probe. This story is not going away as much as Dominic Raab would like it to. Are you guys familiar with this story?
No, I don't know what this probe was about.
We've talked about it. Sorry, Stephanie, go on.
Not really, no.
We've talked about this a couple of times before. Dominic Raab, this is an ongoing investigation. Civil servants have come forward saying that saying that Dominic Raab has bullied them, and so there's an investigation going on. And there he is. There's Dominic Raab. This is an article by Chris Mason, political editor of BBC News. At least 3 senior civil servants who work with Dominic Raab have given evidence to the inquiry into his behaviour. The BBC has been told. One is Philip Rycroft, who ran the department for exiting the European Union when Mr. Raab was Brexit secretary. And this puts more pressure on Sunak. He's under pressure to at the very least to suspend him while this inquiry is going on. He's not to blame, but this was all happening before he became prime minister. But I think it does put pressure on him to act and to make an example of him. But so far, I don't think he's done anything. And the inquiry goes on. Well, we'll see what the outcome will be.
Yeah, I do now recall you talking about it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Brian says this: imagine Trump being suspended for bullying. He got away with witness intimidation, allegedly.
Yeah.
I have to add that word because I don't really want to get sued. But not that, I mean, no, I doubt if anyone will come after me. But I mean, this is such a small channel. But you never know; it happens. But this is this is the Daily Mirror, a Daily Mirror exclusive. This is the headline reads: "Man of the People, Lee Anderson, takes 15,000 donation from a posh private members club." Have you heard of this guy? Purple, Stephanie?
No.
Yeah, I think I may have seen something of it run across Twitter, but I didn't understand what it was about.
Yeah, Lee Anderson. He's a Tory MP. He became a Tory MP in 2019. He has a lot of controversial views. Let's put it that way. And he's been nicknamed 30p Lee because he says that people are poor and need to use food banks because they don't budget properly. He claims that it's possible to make a decent meal on 30 pence. So he's been given the nickname 30p. He's been given the nickname 30p Lee.
Unless you all have experienced a serious amount of deflation, I don't see how that's at all possible.
Yeah.
Well, he seems to think it is, but he, as an MP, he gets his meals subsidised. So, and now he's taken this £15,000 donation from this posh private members club, apparently. Man of the People, Lee Anderson, took a £15,000 donation from one of Westminster's poshest private members clubs, official documents reveal. The Ashfield MP sparked fury this week by claiming food bank users squander their money on fags and booze.
Fags as in cigarettes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we've got signies.
Had to clarify that for this side of the pond.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I believe it means something different on that side of the pond.
Well, in that context, it sounded like they meant male prostitutes.
Ding dong, motherfuckers. Did you miss me?
Yes, we did.
Hey there.
Hey.
Well,
And
miraculously, I managed to find Wi-Fi, so here I am. So, what did I miss, party people?
We're just talking about Lee Anderson, who, according to the store, used to be he used to be in Labour, but he was kicked out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And who let Stool in the chat? Why do we keep allowing this? Come on now. I thought we agreed that we were only letting civilized adults into the chat from here on out. I thought. Maybe I'm wrong? I don't know.
Being subversive is about the only thing I'm good at.
You know, it's not on the sofa until the roast of Stool starts.
Yeah. I'm hearing some echo. I think it's coming from Chinese.
Yeah, it started when Chinese came in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting in a crowded food court to get any Wi-Fi, so.
Oh, okay. But Lee Anderson, he's such a hypocrite. He talks about poor people wasting their money on cigarettes and alcohol, and to budget properly, and he gets this £15,000 donation.
Let's not talk about cigarettes. I would kill somebody for one.
And he came under fire after he used one of his staff members to make an argument that nurses should not be using food banks. He posted a picture of his employee, Katie, claiming she earned £30,000 a year and did not need to use a food bank.
You know, as a poor people and a homeless people, I take great offense to that. So,
yeah. Well, also,
yes, I recall seeing that story. Thoroughly ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not sure, too much on your cost of living, but 30,000 does not sound like much. And, it doesn't mention, is that just for her? Is she raising a kid?
Yeah. But so, I mean, I really hope that he loses his seat in the next general election. He's an idiot. But who knows?
Yeah, but isn't being an idiot kind of rewarded?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, but the thing is, I've become so jaded that if Lee Anderson was to become the next prime minister, I'd be like, yeah, that may as well happen.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not at this point? But well, hopefully.
Well, see, this is what I'm saying. Being an idiot and a hypocrite gets rewarded in your government. It's kind of nauseating.
It is. Yeah. Brian says, nowadays we reward idiots by putting them on the Senate.
Yeah, you put them in public office. We do the same thing here.
Hi, Brian. I like Brian. Brian was a good friend of my uncle's. He was a good guy. I liked him. Hi, Brian. You're cool people. I won't roast you today.
And we've got Nadine Dorries next. Nadine Dorries broke rules with talk show role, says Watchdog. This is from BBC News. Who remembers Nadine Dorries?
No, that one doesn't sound familiar.
Well, she, when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, she was his biggest cheerleader. And I mean, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It got to the point that it got to the point that people thought that she was shagging him, basically. Of course, she denies that. But
hey, the whole thing about Lauren Boebert being in Congress made a lot more sense when we found out she used to be a prostitute.
Really? That is interesting.
Well, allegedly,
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly she slept with some fairly high up people in the Republican Party before she got the nomination to run for office.
Hmm.
Yeah, and those two things are purely coincidental. I'm sure they have nothing to do with each other.
But apparently Nadine Dorries has been accused by Parliament's anti-corruption watchdog of breaking the Ministerial Code by not consulting it before taking a TV job. She's got a new TV. She's got a new TV chat show apparently. She's going to be the host of a new talk show Friday night with Nadine on Talk TV from tomorrow. And guess who her first guest is going to be? You'll never guess. Boris Johnson.
I think that was about my third one. I was going to start with the head of lettuce.
Oh dear. But she's, it's got her into trouble because you're supposed to declare this sort of thing, but she didn't. It says here, Lord Pickles, chair of the advisory committee on business appointments, said it was informed of her decision to take up the role on Friday.
I'm sorry. Did you say Lord Pickles, or am I crazy?
No, that is his name, Lord Pickles.
Yeah, I actually feel instantly sorry for him that he's in the public eye and no one can take that name seriously.
So is his first name Stu or Tommy? Only 90s kids will understand that. 90s American kids will get that. Oh my God!
We had Rugrats here as well.
I didn't think of the Rugrats reference until you mentioned it, but just.
Oh my God! Yeah, you had Rugrats. I love that.
But actually, I was thinking of Pickle Rick.
Well, my first thought is that Lord Pickles would be like what they would have named the judge in a Richard Scarry book.
We can't really be talking about Rick and Morty anymore. The creator of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland, has been charged with domestic abuse.
Yes, that's
and he was
true.
the voice of both Rick and Morty. So guess what? He's not part of it anymore, which means they need to cancel the show, but they're not going to. They're going to try to recast it, and I don't see it ending well. Anyway, yeah, Rick and Morty is life.
But so yeah. That's that one. You never believe this, but Boris Johnson apparently was encouraging
Boris Johnson, drink.
He apparently encouraged Ukraine to join the EU. And I've got footage.
Wait a minute. So Boris Johnson, the biggest champion of Brexit on the face of the planet, is now encouraging a country to join the EU. Is that what I'm hearing right now, or am I losing my mind?
Yeah, I've got footage somewhere. If I can find it.
I gotta say.
Now let's see if I can press the right buttons. Yes, here we go.
Induction both to once the Ukrainians have won, then yes, they should begin the process of induction both to NATO and, of course, to the EU. Once the Ukrainians have won, then yes.
So there you have it. But which begs the question, if it's okay for Ukraine to join the EU, why can't we be in the EU, Boris?
Because Boris fuckface said so, apparently.
But But sure, because I mean,
Also, I
surely.
told Josh you're showing your face on camera, and he's very upset that he can't whip it out and start jerking it because we're in public. He says hi.
Oh, hi, Josh. But Boris, if the EU is so terrible, you should be discouraging Ukraine from joining.
Could it be that the Father Mucker is finally having an epiphany? or we just that would be my best guess. I don't know what to make of this.
He should be saying to Ukraine, no, don't join the EU. The EU's fucking shite. And we left the EU. So you shouldn't even bother joining. But no, he's encouraging them to join. So which is it? You can't have it both ways.
It takes a lot to shock me. That's not the strangest thing I've heard in current events. Granted, I live in an area where I've actually watched somebody fuck a fire hydrant, so it takes a lot anyway, but Jesus Christ. Methamphetamine is a hell of a drug, kids. Don't do it. I tried it once. It wasn't for me.
Brian Stevens says, I think it's a gain popularity move. So is it just since Brexit has so colossally failed that he thinks by sounding like he supports the EU now that is going to help him get back in office or something?
Who knows? This is another thing that Johnson is doing. He seems to be on tour at the moment. He's been touring all around the world as if he's still Prime Minister.
Doing what? A comedy show?
But he's just a backbench MP now. He doesn't have any real power, and yet he's still behaving as if he's Prime Minister.
Actually, Sai, you came really close to my second guess. Like we were just hearing that if they can't get back in office, their other thing is to get a TV show.
Yeah.
So is he bucking to be, a opinion caster on one of these?
I'll give the Tories this. If they're losing elections, at least we don't have to worry that they're going to be inciting insurrections. I have to give the Tories some credit where credit is due. I'd be a real piece of shit if I didn't give somebody some credit. At least the Tories can be civilized when they lose elections, unlike the Trumpa-loompa doompa dee doos we have up in this neck of the woods who cause riots.
But we've got one last story here. This is from Sky News. EDF suspends forced installation of prepayment meters after British gas controversy. This is relating to the controversy that apparently British Gas has been breaking into the homes of vulnerable people to force them to have prepaid meters installed. And you can't do that. But apparently that's what they've been doing. The article says this: Britain's second largest energy supplier is reviewing its processes for those who fall into debt after a report of alleged a company used by British Gas has broken into homes to fit the devices. I mean,
okay, this whole thing about prepaid meters, I get the concept, but this is something that is completely unheard of in the US. We don't have any such thing here.
Really? No, they're really trying to push these prepaid meters here in the UK.
So basically you have to put money in them so that you've got a balance in advance of when you use the energy.
I think I don't fully understand how they work, but I think that's pretty much how they work. Yeah.
I think Stuhl was explaining that to me a couple of months ago.
Okay. He knows more about this stuff than I do, but apparently it works out more expensive in the long run. But
Apparently, Brian Stevens has attack herons to deal with the meter readers.
if my meter reader gets out of hand, I just stick my local flock of herons on him. Interesting.
I think we're confusing meter reader with meter maid.
Yeah. The article says this: the energy company EDF has suspended the forced installation of prepayment meters while it reviews its processes. Sorry, I read that bit before. The country's second largest energy supplier, which has about 5 million customers, acted after British Gas suspended forced installations following a Times investigation that revealed debt collectors had forced their way into the homes of vulnerable customers. Now, if this is true, this is despicable behavior.
Yeah, just the phrase "forced installations," just that in itself sounds horrible. But yeah, you're saying vulnerable customers, so I'm assuming this is like elderly and disabled people.
Yeah. And they, I hope this is thoroughly investigated, because this should not be happening. It just looks bad more than anything, especially during the cost of living crisis. It's just not.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, in our society, on both sides of this great big wet pond, should not be happening and will not be happening, or almost never one and the same. So whether or not something should be happening rarely has any bearing on whether or not it will happen.
Stall is saying you have to have credit in it for gas or electric to work.
Yeah.
It costs more than normal. If you can't afford to top up, you have no gas or electricity.
So basically, you have to have like a prepaid debit card with the utility company.
Yes, I'm not sure. You'll have to ask Stall. I'm not sure how they work, but something like that. Yeah, something along those lines. Or it might be done on an app electronically. Brian is saying DSCN 1935. I have them on video in the yard.
Did we just publicly announce somebody's plate number? I feel like.
Yeah,
No, that's too long to be a plate number. I don't know any states that would allow 8 characters.
No, not sure what that means, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's all the that's all. Those are all the stories that I had lined up, and I really appreciate you guys joining.
Well, very nicely done. You did it in almost exactly an hour.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Stall is saying you go to a shop or post office and hand over cash. They credit your card or key with that amount. You put the card or key into the meter. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Thanks, Stool.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone in the chat and everyone who's been watching. We've just lost Chinese. But if I know that according to my analytics, 17% of you who are watching are not subscribed. So if you enjoy the show, do subscribe. That will really help me out, and it's absolutely free of charge. It won't cost you a penny to subscribe and share with your friends and enemies. And yeah, and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye for now.
Bye bye.